You do realize that at one point in history, both Bad Boy and Death Row Records were both distributed by Interscope, who was run by Jimmy Iovine, and Jimmy Iovine has been profiting handsomely off of black people for as long as I can remember, and is still to this day. Jimmy Iovine made more money from the billion-dollar sale of Beats by Dre to Apple than Dr. Dre did. You tired of lies and leftovers? The Real Black Agenda is crushing 3 bestsellers list. Grab it on Amazon or hit the link in my Instagram bio at @TheBusinessBully before they try and silence it. Michelle wrote in and asked me a very interesting question, and again, if you want to ask me a question, you can do so by emailing me directly, dave@businessbullyshow.com, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram at @TheBusinessBully. Her question was, in my opinion, who won the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar? You know, a lot of people feel like Kendrick Lamar won. There are a couple of people, I guess, who think Drake won that beef. But the truth of the matter is, neither. There's a third party that nobody's talking about, and his name is Lucian Grange. Now, who is Lucian Grange, you might ask? He is the multi-billionaire CEO of the Universal Music Group. You know, Drake and Kendrick are both attached to Universal Music Group, right? So this becomes an age-old battle of light skin versus dark skin, house Negro versus field Negro, 2 black people fighting it out while a rich white man makes billions behind it. Let's unpack this. So this spectacle is playing out like some old school house Negro, field Negro, light-skinned Negro versus dark-skinned Negro battle for the ages. And the truth of the matter is, it's nonsensical BS. So you've got Drake, who is, you know, the corporate guy, the guy that can host Saturday Night Live, the guy that has the complexion for the protection for the collection, as my buddy Paul Mooney would say, R.I.P. to Paul Mooney. Everybody want to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga. And you've got Kendrick, who's more of the grounded voice of the people, you know, the field Negro stereotype type of situation. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I mean that literally it's light skin versus dark skin. One person has a certain level of privilege and mainstream influence, while the other one has fought his way to the mainstream in the halftime of the Super Bowl, all while clicks and views are just getting racked up. Money is being made hand over fist, and nobody is benefiting at all. On the surface, this looks like a cultural battle, but underneath, what it really is a money grab. And this has happened over and over and over again. Let me keep rolling. In business, there's an age-old adage. It's called a win-win situation. So if Not Like Us makes it to the Super Bowl halftime show, Lucian Grange gets millions. If Drake goes out and sells out arenas from here to Finland and back, Lucian Grange gets money. If Drake's new album does well, Lucian Grange wins more money. There's no situation where Lucian Grange does not get paid. But you have to ask yourself, why do we keep allowing this type of thing to happen? Now, in all fairness to Drake, who my good friend Charlamagne would call a waffle-colored Negro, there's gotta be something emasculating, defeating, destructive about watching 100 million collective voices say A minor. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just bad. And when Kendrick turns to the camera and goes, "Say, Drake, I hear you like 'em young." Whoo, that's damaging. Now, there is an argument to be made that is perpetuating damaging information that Universal Music Group knows is not true. And if Drake can prove that in a court of law, it could cost Lucian Grange some money. But then the other part of that is Drake has an album dropping in, I think, just a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And Lucian Grange is going to make money. Now, Lucian Grange just recently came out and said, oh, what Drake is saying is ridiculous and this isn't right, because Drake is asking for discovery. Or let me put that another way. Drake's lawyers are asking for discovery. Now, for those of you who aren't in the legal profession or have not been keeping up since the OJ trial, discovery is what happens when an attorney asks the other side for the evidence that they're going to be presented with in court so that they can have a proper defense against that evidence. And that goes both ways. And so what Drake's team has asked for is an unredacted copy of Kendrick Lamar's record contract, also allegedly the marketing and promotion schemes for what's going on. Now, black bodies and black talent has been monetized since the early recordings. There's a reason that BMI exists. BMI exists is because ASCAP wasn't taking care of black artists. And of course, they've rebranded over the years, but you can go back and look. They were grabbing every black artist they possibly could, BMI was, so that they could cash in on publishing. Publishing is a whole nother racket, but I digress. Let's keep rolling. I'm not going to just talk about Lucian Grange, because it's not fair to Mr. Grange, and I don't know that man, but I do know that I've seen this somewhere, but I'm trying to think, where did I... The 1990s. Let's run the clock back a little bit and talk about, I don't know, Bad Boy and Death Row. You do realize that at one point in history, both Bad Boy and Death Row Records were both distributed by Interscope, who was run by Jimmy Iovine, and Jimmy Iovine has been profiting handsomely off of black people for as long as I can remember, and is still to this day. Jimmy Iovine made more money from the billion-dollar sale of Beats by Dre to Apple than Dr. Dre did. He's always there to scoop up the check. He's like a sweeper in a strip club. Now, for those of you who've never been inside a gentleman's club, a sweeper is usually a young man that comes along after, Cinnabons or back shots, will dance and sweep up all of the money with a push broom. He's the sweeper. He's the guy that's sweeping up the bread while people get unalived, while people's life gets ruined, while he makes money. It is taking black pain and profiting from it. I talk about this in The Real Black Agenda. If you have not gotten that book, go to therealblackagenda.com. Yeah, I just plugged it. Get over it. I talk about this in Chapter 7. That's right. We have to talk about Chapter 7, which is the body count, how the system profits from black pain. We continue to do this all the time, and we don't understand that our culture is currency. That's Chapter 8. Go to therealblackagenda.com. Let me continue. Now, this is where the house Negro and field Negro dynamic plays out. You've got the corporate darling. Who is Drake? Drake can go on Saturday Night Live and sing Hava Nagila. Literally, he did. He said, I'm black and Jewish, because he wants everybody to know that he's corporate friendly. While Kendrick, who is amazingly gifted and talented, there are people who are doing entire think pieces just on how deep and how subtle his bars are, the way that he structures his rhymes, the references that he makes, not only from an auditory lyrical perspective, but also from physical things he does in videos in order to illuminate things that most people will miss. You have to literally dive into what he's saying, but he's playing from the margins. He's the outsider they don't want to let in. Any way you slice it, they continue to get paid because they don't get to profit. They have become the product. So, of course, you're going to ask what the solution is. And my solution is always going to be the same. The solution is simple. We need complete ownership. We need to make sure that if we are doing any type of deals, they come with certain parameters and certain controls. We need to get back to gatekeeping because let's face it, it works really well for the Indians. It works phenomenal for the Chinese and the Koreans. It works well for absolutely everybody. And it hasn't worked for us because we are so conditioned to be happy with massive scraps because massive scraps are just so fine in comparison to the rags that we walk around with when we don't have that deal. But even the way the deals are structured are trash. Here's what I mean. Let's keep it very simple, for example. If you get a deal and you're getting 8%, everything that is spent on behalf of you comes out of your 8%. So let me break that down. They'll give you a $100,000, just for math's sake, signing bonus. You're going to have what's called the recoupables column. So that money is going to be taken back when the profits start rolling in from the sales of your record. Now, because we have moved away from physical, tangible products to digital and streaming, you are getting tenths of a penny. And as a matter of fact, if you do 1 million streams, on average, you're going to get about $4,000 when it's all said and done. That's what it is. You're fighting for tenths of pennies. Now, if you have a video shoot, that gets taken out of recoupables. If you get somebody, I don't care if it's Dr. Dre, Timberland, Swiss Beats, whomever, the cost for them making a beat and producing your record also comes out of your 8%. Studio time comes out of your 8%. Travel, clothing, absolutely everything you eat, drink, wear, or buy all comes out of your 8%. So what happens to the 92%, Dave? I thought you'd never ask. Let me tell you. They pocket it. They pocket it. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how much they buddy up to you, no matter how great they tell you they are, ironically enough, they not like us. If you've got a question for Ask Dave Anderson, you can email me directly, dave@businessbullyshow.com, or shoot me a DM right here on I Never Knew TV @TheBusinessBully. Make sure you comment, rate, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.